Mike Bond here at UFC 247 Media Day with Alex Morono, who meets Caleb Williams Saturday night. Alex, I know this isn't the fight you originally had. It was Diego Lima. You called your shot more or less on that one. You got it originally. How disappointed were you when it ultimately fell through?
Man, I wasn't super happy. I was actually sitting in a hotel room in Dallas waiting to go train and got the email. And for the first time in training, I couldn't really focus, and my coach had to kind of like smack me around and get my head straight. And thankfully, UFC, being #1 in the game, found a replacement opponent pretty quick. So all the hard work, wasn't for nothing.
Yeah, I know, like fighters, opponents dropping out. That's not uncommon in this sport, and I'm sure you've experienced it in the past too. But you mentioned maybe it threw your focus off a little bit. What did you have to do to ultimately get that back, and how tough were those like lingering moments without an opponent and all that stuff?
Lima had a pretty specific style, like a super meticulous counter striker. So I knew like technically the fight would be very demanding. Physically, the pace wouldn't be, like fighting a really strong pressure fighter or a wrestler. And so, every game plan's the same. We prepare for the worst, which is, having a grind on the cage and hit get-ups, and we prepare for the best, which is being able to stand and strike. And with this new opponent, the guy is he'll press forward, he'll be very physical. So all of the training was very appropriate for this new fight. And it was just the day of the hard sparring day where I didn't have the opponent. I just didn't know how I should have fought. I didn't know how my opponent should have gone. And coach just kind of had to put me back to reality. And he was like, do this all the time at a fight camp. Just have fun, like be sharp and do you. And I actually got to be more free and had a lot more fun.
Yeah, and obviously you really want to be on this card more so than anything too, right? Like, was that part of the concern? Like, damn, I might not be able to fight in Texas.
Yeah, on my drive home, it's a 3-hour drive home. It was a day later. I kind of like came to terms with what was in front of me. And I was like, what, I may not be fighting, and that's not a big deal. They'll rebook me later. But man, thankfully, it was less than 2 days. I had a new opponent. Sean Shelby's the man. He really went out of his way to make this happen. So I'm very thankful for that.
That's awesome. What do you know about Kalen? Obviously, a guy who hasn't been on the scene before, so casual fans or even some of the more hardcore ones might not know him very well. What have you learned in your small window of being able to research and prepare for him?
Everything we could have found. I mean, there's no stone left unturned. I had, of course, Coach Safe already took the initiative and found everything out, but I had my 2 other coaches back home do all the research they could find. I mean, we know the guy's whole background. We know his style of fighting. We know his activity. We know his strengths and weaknesses. And if studying tape gives you a 1% advantage, why not do it? I've done it my whole career. I always found the strategy and tactical side of fighting was a real benefit that I had, because I could use my mind a little bit more than some of the other guys. And we know what to expect on Saturday.
And I know finishing fights is kind of in your nature, but given that research, not giving away the game plan too much or anything, do you see, one particular or multiple avenues to stopping this fight inside the distance?
Yeah, always. So mentally, I always prepare for a 3rd round knockout or submission. That way, if it goes past the first, I'm not, disheartened. But, the fight goes everywhere. He will shoot in a lot, so I expect a lot of grappling. Best case scenario, he stands and trades, and if that's the case, it's the same game plan I've had for the last 13 years, and that's to score knockouts. That's my main goal always.
Do you hope to get that Lima fight run back after this, or 4 wins in a row? Or are you maybe looking, a little bit higher?
I liked that Lima matchup, and the one thing about it, the main reason I want to run it back is we did so much groundwork. I got pretty bored watching tape, and there's a lot of tape, and we watched all of it, and I don't want it to be for nothing. And the main reason I wanted that fight was, 1, he was a very skilled striker, so I wanted to test myself as a martial artist, and 2, he is on a 3-fight win streak, so that would have been a good win to have. And of course, not looking past my opponent on Saturday, but that's a fight I'd love. But I learned in the UFC not to fall in love with any one opponent, and I'll just see who they offer.
Sure. And last thing, obviously a big night for Fortis on this one. You guys got 3 guys on this card. I know one of your teammates was a late addition, but just having that kind of training, that kind of flow, all you shooting for the same goal the same night, how did that enhance your preparation?
Man, it makes it so much fun, and it's funny. Lingo and Miles are both super experienced, but this is my 10th UFC fight, so it's cool being able to be like the last of the team fighting on Saturday. And I'll tell you guys, Austin Lingo, look out for him. Dude has serious power in his hands, super sharp, been doing this a long time. I'm super excited to see him fight on Saturday as well.
Very cool. I think we're excited to see all you guys being a huge run for Fortis, and I'm sure you guys are all looking forward to continuing that. So thank you very much for the time.
Sure. Thanks, man.